Did you get the live? Oh, here we go. We're live.
Oh, we're live.
Round of applause.
The round of applause. There you go. Hey, everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. It's we're going Social Your Sales live. I'm Brandon Lee, and this is my friend Mike Garrison. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody a little bit about you?
Hey, I'm old. No, this is Mike Garrison. I've been a trainer, coach, consultant for almost 29 years now, and I've been a friend of Brandon for long enough that we don't have to use numbers to validate that. I will say it started really early in the Sales Enablement Society. How's that?
Yeah, there you go. That is very true. That's it. That's what we got.
Hey man, I'm on social. Look up my profile. You can find it's out there, baby.
There you go. There you go. Well, hey everybody. Today, Mike and I, so first of all, big shout out to Tim Hughes, one of our friends, our mentors, our partner, our colleague. And I'm really jealous of Tim right now because he's in Portugal having an awesome vacation, or a holiday as he calls it.
He's suffering.
Yeah, and so he is not doing the digital download today. And so we decided to go live. And for me, it's kind of a promotion of my new podcast, which is called Social Your Sales. And so Mike and I decided we're going to go live and do Social Your Sales live in order to fill in the gap from digital download.
Absolutely. Like we are here, the shy and retiring two of us, to try and provide enough verbosity to cover up for the normal 7-person panel.
That, you know what, we are going to do our best, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Well, I am getting a few LinkedIn things here put together. But Mike, we decided today we're going to talk about social and EBITDA. And, we could talk about social and its effect on cash flow, its effect on revenue, its effect on costs. We kind of went to EBITDA because, that's what the C-suite and the board really cares about. But before we went live, you were saying you had a lot of things to talk about with this. So I'm going to let you kick it off.
So if you're in the C-suite, okay, or you're trying to sell to the C-suite, I think that covers almost everyone. You need to read Greg McKeown, who is the author of the #1 bestseller, Essentialism. You need to read his new book, Effortless, because in that book, Effortless, Greg talks about the #1 reason that social is the biggest driver on EBITDA versus traditional sales, traditional marketing. And it's this: linear versus residual. And so it's about effect. And when you're looking at increasing your operating budget, that cash you have before you start playing games with the accountant and the financial advisors, when you're looking at doing that, the question is, how much effort do you have to expend individually on your team and then collectively as an organization to affect that metric? And so when you're using traditional sales, which is cold calling, email marketing, things of that nature, these are all linear effect models for how to create an effect. The problem is you have to continue to take the same amount of effort to make it happen, especially a cold call. You're going to have to do another cold call. You're going to have to spend just as much time trying to get that person on the phone versus with social selling, the strategic thing that you and I talk about, content marketing being a huge part of it. Hello, Funnel Amplify. But, when you write a piece of content that is designed not to be a brochure about how great you are and how wonderful your business is, but to actually address the concerns that your target market have, that piece of content is evergreen. It's residual. That amount of effort that you and maybe your marketing department really enabling people to do things like they could, that amount of effort then has a residual effect over years. A great example is from a pool company outside of Richmond, Virginia. They wrote one blog post called How to Buy a Pool, right? That's created since 2008, I believe, well over $2 million in sales. One blog post.
Wow.
Right? So that amount of effort necessary to create the blog post, maybe 2 hours. Now we've got this never-ending residual trail. Yeah. And that's the thing is when we're looking as a C-suite person, right? I'm a business owner, Brandon's a business owner. We're trying to make the best use of time, the best use of effort. Like we're using our resources. When you're doing traditional sales and marketing, even if it's working, you're having a linear effect. When you're doing social, which is really an integration of what works offline and on,
yeah,
you're getting residual. That's what I wanted to share. And it's from Effortless. Folks, you've got to read it. You have to read that and really think about, are my strategies linear or residual based? Is my mindset, my mindset. I had to do it, Brandon. I had to use the word.
No, why not? It's word. Hey, who's Effortless written by again?
Greg McKeown. He wrote the book Essentialism.
McKeown.
McKeown. Effortless. How do you do what is essential easily and fun?
All right.
But
there we go.
Yeah, it probably, in my opinion, is the most impactful piece of knowledge I've gotten in the past 10 years.
Wow, that's a lot.
I've gotten a lot. Right?
Yeah. So let's go. I want to go back to that and address what you were saying about linear versus residual. And I think it's, I think the challenge with so many organizations in thinking about social is number one, mindset, like you said. There's a belief, and you and I were talking before we went live, somebody responded to a post that I did with a comment that said, Brandon, the reality is, and I love that, right? Come show me the reality. The reality is business leaders don't have the time because they're spending so much time in the operations. And then he said, so we've got to work on maximum gain from minimal effort. And there's just everything about that comment to me feels wrong, right? It's because it's not, we put our efforts, we put our time, you said this earlier, we put our time into the best use of our time, the best ROI. So the question, and we're talking about EBITDA, we're talking about cash flow, we talk about profits, we talk about revenues. The question is social, does it create better KPIs, or does it create KPIs that lead to a more efficient sales process? Right? One of the what's that? More.
It does a lot more than that.
Right. Well, and that's but if we're starting at EBITDA, right? Let's start at a level playing ground. Are the activities in social better than, worse than, or comparable to the activities that they could be doing, right? If we think about prospecting, we think about sales, they could be making phone calls, they could be sending emails, they could be on airplanes, they could be in lunches and breakfasts, they could be doing presentations, right? You have a menu of activities that you can do. The question is, does social activity get people to the point where the time spent is more efficient than time spent in other activities?
I think you're framing it just a little bit off.
That's fine. Talk to me.
So the problem is activity is linear.
Strategy. Eric, by the way.
How's it going there, Eric?
Joining us.
That was my Scottish accent, Eric. I apologize. So the problem is that activity is tactical. Activity is linear. I do this, I get this. But strategy is residual. And so I would say that the biggest difference between how most companies approach any form of sales and marketing, to include social, is tactical and linear. It's not strategic. They're not looking at a cumulative, exponentially increasing benefit. So I would say that if you are being strategic on social, there is no comparison to the measurability and transparency at all levels of the organization and the residual amplification. I had to say it for you.
Thank you.
Of the results. And the reason is because unlike a cold call or an email, organic posts, conversations with clients on social don't go away.
Right.
We move from anecdotal to documented. Every time you're having a conversation on social, you're providing evidence of who you are. For some companies, they may need to make some big changes in how they treat their employees and their clients because they're not ready for social because they're not nice.
You think that's why a lot of companies are afraid of social?
Yeah.
They don't. I mean, so I've had conversations with people for several years about the value of personal brands, right? Because salespeople and leaders have always had a personal brand. Just because we never called it a personal brand doesn't mean it didn't exist.
Correct.
Your personal brand was how you were known, right? We know the term your reputation precedes you. The question was always, was it a good reputation? Was it a bad reputation? Was it a clearly defined reputation? Like, what was that reputation? Well, that's what your personal brand is. And so when I've talked with companies in the past that, thank Nick, it exposes company culture real fast. Absolutely. And I think that's probably why, thanks for that, Nick. I think that's probably why a lot of companies are worried about this personal brand. And I do hear this one, which is, I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. It's like, well, what if we help them with their personal brand and then they leave?
Okay. Well, right. Why they leave? They left because you suck.
Right. You left because you couldn't keep them.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of that comic, right? The CFO asking the, whatever other position, doesn't even matter. It's like, well, what if we spend all this money and train them and they leave? And the person responds with, well, what if we don't train them and they stay?
Well, why are we going to lead from fear? So can I plug my bestseller?
Absolutely. Please do.
So 16 years ago, I co-wrote a bestseller called Truth to Delusion with Ivan Misner and Mike Macedonio, two brilliant men. And it was basically a series of Q&As that Mike Macedonio and I have been doing for years in B&I groups all up and down the East Coast and around the world. And so it relates back to this thing. Truth to delusion, referrals are the safest way to grow your business. And the answer is delusion. Referrals, analog referrals, are the most dangerous way to grow your business if you're not committed to transparency, ethics, and morals, because referrals will expose who you are, just like what Nick was saying earlier. So that's the same thing. Social selling, which is really what we're talking about here, social selling will unequivocally get who you are and what your company is really about out on social faster than the way most people are trying to do it with brochures. Here's the real news. The only thing more dangerous than doing strategic social selling is not doing it. Because we are in an era of information where you can't hide. You can't hide. And so the choice is to try and hide and be found out later, or to really get strategic, to look at social and EBITDA as a transformative process from one era of business to the next in the future. And so that's what I would say.
Hey, William, thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Yeah, because here's the deal. Social is dangerous because it's social. You get drunk at the office party and make a pass at the boss's wife. How's that going to work out for you?
Right.
So people that behave badly will be canceled. Sorry.
Right.
But if you're not a good person, you should basically direct market.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just to touch on this, because I have to, the cancel culture cancels people because they disagree with them. What we're talking about is if you have bad behavior, we're talking about your personal brand again. We talk about reputation. If you do something stupid or you act inappropriate, then it's going to happen. I mean, I have, old relationships in the print industry, years later. Somebody tells me, "Oh, hey, I know that guy," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know him too." And he said, "Oh yeah, you know what? Let me tell you a story that happened." Right? And it changed my whole history with this person. I was just like, "Oh my gosh," but it's definitely going to influence me moving forward, right? And you're right, with social, we have. I want to get back. I would love to keep talking more about the long tail side and the long-term exposure, the long-term value of social, and how that does affect EBITDA, how that does affect revenues, right? Because what I love about social is, I mean, what we're doing right now is a good example. We're live. I could see there's 2-3 people come in, one person comes in, whatever the numbers are, and this is our first time doing it. So having anyone here is a whoop, whoop, big win.
That's huge.
But the fact is that you and I are going to spend an hour talking about social, but this video is going to live in the news feed forever, and it's going to have value for us at least over the next week, right? Next 3 to 4 days for sure. So,
well, that's the advantage of strategy, isn't it?
Let's see. What did Eric say? Someone said the other day, you can't build relationships online. This is them talking to themselves. And I believe the issue is that they have trouble building relationships anywhere. Yeah, thank you for that, Eric. And you're right. And that goes back to the post I was referring to, the guy that says, well, the reality is, Brandon, it's like, well, what you're implying is that my time spent on social media is just playtime. Like, I'm a CEO of a company. I don't waste my time playing. I spend my time where it proves ROI for my business. That's why I spend time here, because you know what? I've done this. I've done a lot of this and it didn't work. I've done a lot of emails that didn't work. What I find is that I can build relationships better and faster that lead to business transactions, spending my time on social more efficiently than other channels of communication.
I agree 100%, Brandon. I think because I've been having a lot of coaching conversations with clients of mine, helping them make a social transformation in their entire organization, and with people at large on social. And for giving old ball coach a moment, but it comes down to the corporate and individual mindset. How are you approaching social? And unfortunately, right, most people that I encounter that are struggling with driving EBITDA, like EBITDA, not just revenue, but like operating budget after expenses, those people have a transactional mindset. They have an advertising mindset where they're going to throw out a piece of content and it's going to make someone else do what they want. And that's never how sales is really work. Instead, you have to have a social mindset, right? And social mindsets are rewarded if they're values-based. They're rewarded if you're doing this not only to create money for yourself, but to actually be social, to be someone who is valuable.
Yeah.
We talk about this: visibility, recognition, trusted advisor, measurable pipeline, the employer of choice, a sense of purpose. Strategic use of social by a leader, a C-suite member, is going to drive everything.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Yesterday I was in North Carolina having lunch and sitting down and talking social with a great financial advisor, buddy of mine, Joe Del Monte, that we had met online. Like literally, I drove 2.5 hours to sit down with him, and it was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah.
And that's we've talked about this before in lots of different places, but you hear the expression that a social media turns a first live meeting with somebody into a hug instead of a handshake. right? And what that means is through social, we develop real relationships faster. It doesn't matter if you've met the person face to face. I mean, I've got a lot of really, really good friends that I've never met in real life. And I've got a lot of really good customers that I've never met in real life, but I'm very confident in the relationship I've been able to develop with them through ongoing social engagement has really padded and protected me from competitors.
Yeah,
just like you would do in an offline world.
You and I've only met once in DC at a sales enablement meeting.
Right.
And that was years ago. And yet I would say that we have a deep and personally and professionally rewarding friendship and business partnership as a direct result of what we did from there. So I got a question for you. Ready?
Yeah.
So how about we do a little brass tacks for EBITDA? Like a right now reason to be strategic on social for companies that have got a sales force. What do you say?
Let's do it. All right, that's what we're supposed to talk about today. Let's get to it.
So we're going to role play a little bit. So Brandon, you've got a sales force, and you do have a sales force, and you've had them in the past.
Yes.
What would it be worth to you as a CEO of a company that needs to create EBITDA, right? To have your salespeople, without having to have individual conversations, be able to see in real time what your clients, your target clients, were talking about personally and professionally and what they were interested in. What would it be worth to you to have that information?
Well, what you just said there is how many salespeople wish they could be a fly on the wall of their customers, right?
Yeah, right. Because how do you not be a salesperson? Don't talk about your shit. Talk about theirs, right? Right. And I said that to this person that I was meeting with, who's a very social person, but is worried about online social. And I said, brother, financial advisors make more money whenever they spend more time with their clients. The problem is if you look at that from an analog perspective, you cap out. You have a hard cap on how much face time you can get with your clients that they want. However, on social platforms, you have through asynchronous communication.
Yeah.
Right. You have the ability to 10x the amount of time that you spend listening to your clients,
right,
and learning about them, and then engaging with them.
Right.
What do you?
So I mean, I had a conversation with a customer this morning, and we were talking about the value of eyesight, like getting in the eyesight of your buyers. And he was explaining to me the activities that he does that he calls his eyesight. He hasn't gotten their attention yet, or hasn't even sent the connection request yet, but is continually getting the, in their eyesight. Why? Because with social, without picking up the phone and being, a disruptor, without sending another email and being like, oh, I'm bugging you, you can just casually be in their eyesight through your social activity.
Totally. Oh, look at that from Kevin. Two-way engagement via content funnel of push and pull. Right. So I was talking to a buddy of mine that you and I are going to be talking to in a couple of weeks, Brandon.
Yeah.
And he's a big time commercial
Thanks, Kevin.
Big time commercial banker. He does loans with B's in them, billions, right?
Right.
And I was like, how do you sell right now? And he says, well, it's a layered approach. He goes, I can't expect a CEO of a publicly traded company with 4 billion turnover, right, annual turnover, to book an appointment when I call them the first time. He goes, but I've got a sequence of things that I do, analog, that has that person gradually have me in their eyesight so that I can get that appointment. He goes, and he told me, he says, what I'm learning from you guys at DLA Ignite is how I can use social to do that analog process, which works, which is cold and transactional, how I can use that same concept relationally on social, do it with 40 CEOs at the same time.
Do I dare say amplify your funnel?
It's strange. I did feel like I teed it up. You know what I mean?
You perfectly did. I mean, it is Friday. A lot of people might be golfing, and you did tee that up perfectly for me. But that's exactly it, right? Social and digital has that amplification effect because of all the things we said.
If you're strategic.
What's that?
If you're strategic.
Absolutely. It's a good point, right? If you just give like a, if you go to you walk into a room and it's just filled with your ideal customers, right? You get all excited. Oh my gosh, everybody's here. I'm going to crush this. And then you pull out of your bag or your briefcase a big stack of brochures, and you just walk around to everybody and you go, here, 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 here. You're going to get a little bit. You're bound to find a few people that go, oh my gosh, timing was perfect, and this is exactly what I need. And they'll talk to you. But as Tim likes to say all the time, luck is not a strategy. Well, we all love to say it. Luck is not a strategy. And honestly, you're going to get more people that throw the brochure away and move on and go, what kind of crap behavior was that?
Well, let's look at reality. Sorry, I had to do that.
Thank you.
Right. So think about this. If you're that brochure guy in the room, some people are going to notice what you're doing, and they are going to leave the room. This is the problem with being transactional. So I'm going to give you, right? Brandon, you've got lots of free time, right?
Oh, yeah, a ton of it.
You have no children, no church, no friends. You own more than one business. I know this, right? Yeah. So when a salesperson shows up at your office, bangs on the door, comes into your receptionist and says, hey, I want 20 minutes of Brandon's time. Are they going to get it? And the answer is no.
Right.
That's a linear effect tactic, just like spamming my DMs, which happens every day from people that and half the time, like I love being a best-selling author on referrals. I love getting DMs about how they can teach me how to do referrals better.
Right.
Like, it's just like, wow, that, clearly you've invested some time looking into who I am. But the point being is you have to be social. Like your point about getting eyesight is huge, Brandon.
Yeah.
You wouldn't walk into somebody's office and realistically expect them to cancel their day's calendar so that they can talk to you. Why do people do it on social? When you're doing that, it kills EBITDA. It kills it because you're just being linear.
Well, you're wasting resources and time, and that's why it affects revenues and operating capital. Katrina, I want to come back to that. I didn't want to interrupt Mike, but William and Katrina, thanks for tagging me in. Just can't agree with people you've seen. You build relationships online because I proved you can. Yeah. One business and got a new job. So, I mean, it's, I honestly, Katrina, thank you for that.
Yes.
I'm really kind of tired of feeling like we have to go back to the conversations of, oh, can you build real relationships online? It's like, I almost want to be like, hey, we're done and dusted with that. If you want to have those conversations with us, you're too far behind to even catch up. So,
but back to what Eric said, people always say that, well, can I be successful with referrals or social? I go, maybe. Like if you can behave correctly, if you can operate strategically, if you can have a little bit better control of your prefrontal cortex via impulse, right? Yeah. But there's a reason why advertising's not going away. And the reason is some people don't have the desire, willingness, or discipline to behave appropriately socially. And that's why you need to go advertise, right? If you're not willing to be patient, if you're not willing to operate with a residual mindset, then social is a terrible idea for your company.
Right.
Go ahead and spam, use automation, and be a slave to ads.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And that's okay. And I always come back to, I mean, the CEO in me comes back to KPIs and ROI. Okay. If I've got a whole bunch of Google ads going out and there is up, room for Google Ads. But I was watching a video. It was on YouTube the other day. It was a panel of people that were talking about ABM. So there were ABM people, there were demand gen people, and basically the conversation was about, what are all these different, tools or resources, or what the hell do these things mean? And they're talking about, demand gen is a lot of creating, building ads that are either targeting accounts, or ads that are driving traffic to specific pages on your website. And I know for years, the marketers are like traffic, 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 right? Top of the funnel traffic, top of the funnel traffic, top of the funnel traffic. And we've got to the point now where it used to be much more efficient, used to have much better ROI. But as we've all gotten more mature, I don't know if that's a ever term that works, but as we've gotten more mature in using Google and digital and social and everything else, ads have gone down in effectiveness because we're all conditioned now to ignore ads, right? So as a company, you look at your ROI. We keep placing these ads, and we're seeing traffic dip, but yet there's still a mindset of, oh, social is, it's go use your LinkedIn profile the way you want. No, when it comes to operating expenses, when it comes to net profits, let's put something in place that says, how do we measure the KPIs and measure the effectiveness that this has on CRM data? How long did this deal take to come through?
That's the big one.
What's the average cost of the deal that came through? What were the activities that took place that influenced it? And I'm betting a lot on it, because obviously that's where I built Funnel Amplified, that social KPIs are going to prove a lot more valuable. They already do, but will prove to companies a lot larger ROI than their other tools they're using right now. And that's a direct effect on EBITDA. Yeah. And Eric, I want to, that's where I was saying too.
I wish we could have him read it in his voice.
We'll have to bring him on next time.
Yeah.
But here, Eric, if I got tracked in different places, but yeah, I think that I feel like we get dragged into the conversation of, is it effective? Because that's where so many people want to battle, because they don't have the discipline, they don't have the systems, or they don't have the courage to go be social, because they hide around spam messages because they really don't want people to know who they are.
Well, so let's double down on that. Like, if social's not working for you, your sales process is trash, right? If you don't have the ability to be welcome into conversations with your target market, whether you're online or offline, your sales process is trash, because your sales process is either based upon getting clicks so that you can spam people to death until they finally succumb, or your process is predicated upon interrupting enough people that you find that unicorn that doesn't know anyone that does what you do and wants to buy. And so the reality is this. I love that reality thing. I'm going to say that forever now, Brandon.
Yes.
Right? But the deal is this, is if you've got a real sales process where you understand a funnel, where you understand how to appropriately interact with sophisticated and very valuable prospects at each and every stage of the funnel, you're going to be amazing on social, because you're not going to be a wham bam thank you ma'am salesperson, right? You're going to be somebody that is actually going to be valued and respected. And that's the key here, is if you're really good at sales, not interrupting, but sales, meaning you can develop relationships and close deals, then you are going to be amazing on social, right, if you have a system and a structure that gives you confidence.
Right. And do you think that that's why, I see in the venture-backed company world, Millions and millions of dollars come in, and a lot of that money goes towards putting more, as I say, butts in seats that are sending out more emails, more direct messages. It's that BDR world of trying to get somebody to say, "Oh, I'm slightly interested," and then moving them into handing them off to an SDR to do the demo. And if the Gartner data is accurate, and I don't mean to question Gartner, I'm just saying for people, if the Gartner data is remotely accurate and 58%
Half
of
as accurate.
reps, what's that?
If it's half as accurate.
Right, exactly. If they're not hitting quota, then you have a big loss in your operating costs.
Yes.
If we could show that, hey, what you're doing now is creating 58% of people that are not hitting quota. And by the way, these are the same companies that complain that people turn over in 2 years. Well, a lot of them turn over in 2 years because the systems you give them to sell don't work, and they're not making the money they want to make or need to make because they can't close enough deals because of ineffective tools. But yet we're going to complain that salespeople are turning over too quickly.
Totally. It's interesting. Eric Doyle is one of our partners and a very, very large human being, tall human being from a northern climate. But a mountain biker. Yes, Eric only taller. But Eric told the story about a CEO that had been following some of his content, right? And the CEO kept making these notes, and Eric would talk about, hey, why don't you measure this? Why don't you measure this? And after enough time, the CEO had this note card with all these questions he had about what was he paying for with marketing and advertising. And so he pulled his entire team, not just marketing, all these different people together, and just started asking some questions. And he tried to make it as nice as he could. But at the end of the day, the question was, how much am I paying to get what? And the answer was nothing. And this is the thing.
Wait. Not paying nothing.
No, he was paying a lot
nothing
with no direct thing. And it's the shell game that traditional thought processes do. It's about activity. It's about visibility. We're just going to do this. And then the universe, namaste, the universe is going to bless you and drop this business in, which is not true.
Right.
And so what happened is that client, all their business was coming from C-suite relationships that had other C-suite relationships in the same vertical. And it was basically almost all referral. Right. And
so they could have cut big chunks of expenses off and kept their revenue the same.
Yeah. They were making all their money from good relationships. Right. And this is what nobody wants to talk about is as a C-suite person, the question you have to ask yourself is your EBITDA coming from this 4 or 5 key relationships that maybe aren't even in the sales team and marketing team in your firm? Yeah. And like if it was, what if we just amplified those people's brands?
Right. Ooh, look at that. Well, and I mean, we could go in so many different directions. Yeah, Eric, I'm going to clarify because, I'm sure Gartner's listening.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning Gartner. I'm questioning people's ability to listen to Gartner. Right? I mean, just say, let's say if Gartner's accurate, 58% of your reps are not hitting quota. You are losing money on every butt, on 58% of the butts that you put in seats because they're not hitting an ROI for your business that you would expect. And right now, what I'm hearing is, well, instead of trying to make them more efficient, we're just going to put more butts in seats. We're going to raise more money. We're going to put more butts in seats and just go into this knowing that 58% of them are going to not be as profitable as they should be or profitable at all.
You ready for some facts in my beloved financial services industry?
Yes.
So the companies that actually track retention of advisors, right? Which ironically or not are the big ones, like the Merrill Lynch's, the Morgan Stanley's, the Mass Mutuals, the New York Life's. These companies that have full-time training and development staff. They have complete resources. Here's the results from following traditional mindsets about sales and marketing. First year success rate of new advisors, less than 30%. Now, these are people where thousands of dollars, EBITDA, thousands of dollars have been spent advertising and recruiting and assessing and then onboarding and then training and then getting these people licensed. Tens of thousands of dollars spent per person with a full-time training department, right? And we have a less than a 30% success rate. It gets worse, Brandon. You ready? At 3 years, of the 30% that survive the first year, and this, I'm being generous, I have insider knowledge, the success rate at 3 years is less than 30%.
Wow.
Think of that if you're a C-suite employee, whether you're a financial advisor and you've got a 5-advisor team, or you're an RIA and you've got a multi-region team. Think of how much money, because you've been told to do it this way, that you are blowing on recruiting people. And the reason they're not succeeding is you're not social.
Right.
That's why.
And I think there's a disconnect and I do think that in some of these industries like wealth advisors, insurance, and others, I think it's just become a part of their culture that there's a big loss rate. There's only 20%, 30% make it past the first year. It's just
a point of pride.
What's that?
It's a point of pride. You should listen to these people talk. They're like, hey, like only the best make it. Well, no, actually. Like, you're a CEO. Why is a 20% retention rate even remotely acceptable? Why would you? And the reason is they're trying to cover up the fact that they're inept.
Yeah, right. Oh, only the best survived, which is try to put, hey, these 20% made it instead of looking at your 80% failure rate.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but your business is not special warfare training. Right? You're not training SEALs.
Right.
Like,
yeah. But so what is it going to take, Mike? What do you think it's going to take? Because as Eric said, as we've all said over and over, like, hey, the conversation about is social valuable, it should be dead. And the reason it's not, I think, is because people are scared. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to lead it. A lot of the leaders don't want to do it themselves for whatever reason.
So
what is it going to take to get people there? Because 58% of sales investments don't hit quota. Bad ROI. You're saying in the wealth advisor space, only 30% succeed, 70% wasted expense, right? Those are big numbers and billions of dollars every year that go wasted, and companies are being okay with it.
It's 10% at 3 years.
Right. So 90% fail rate into 3 years.
It's like,
now, I do know in those worlds, and you could probably speak to this better, any of the business those 80% did in the first year, the company retains, there's no commissions, maybe that number becomes big enough that it's okay to have an 80% loss rate.
That's what they don't want to tell you, is that's how it works. The financial services is one of the most cannibalistic, unethical ways of running a business there is. Not from the individual advisor level, but the big companies, they do this on purpose to harvest the easy business. So here's what it's going to take. You ready? So this is a psychological answer. We all have patterns for how that we make sense of life. We have these patterns that we develop, usually in adolescence, to try and survive, being aware that we're independent, but still being dependent on our parents. We have these patterns. If we're lucky, we develop a better pattern as we mature. Most people don't. The same thing happens as a coach for 30 years in business. You have this mindset, you have this pattern of how you view and interact with reality. What does it take to change that? Massive, courageous leadership, where one person organization has an epiphany. We call it a BFO, blinding flash of the obvious. And they're like, nope, emperor's got no clothes. We got to do something about it. But here's the sad Answer. You know what it's going to take? Lots of companies struggling, going out of business, employees that have dedicated their lives to organizations being failed by an antiquated, rigid mindset at the C-suite level.
Yeah.
If you're a leader, demand that anyone in sales and marketing show you how everything they do ties directly to EBITDA. That's why, as an organization at DLA, we're so passionate about not hiding. It's not about views. It's like, how are we actually driving EBITDA, right? And so that's what I think it's going to take, is that CEO going, you know what? That's what counts. Show me how everything that I'm paying for is driving this.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. I think I love when I get in conversations talking about social that start like this.
Right? Yeah.
And then you talk about things like engagement, and they're still like this. You talk about likes, you talk about comments, they're still like this. And then you talk about how do you take that and turn it into a real business transaction, and you talk about a methodology, and all of a sudden they go
like this.
Right. They go, wait, this can result in deals. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like, we don't do the like that post that I got today that said, Brandon, in reality, and then he was going to learn me something.
That's his reality.
Right. In reality, business leaders don't have time for this. Well, look, in reality, business leaders better find where time is spent most efficiently for revenue, for profitability. Because if it's, I don't have time for social because I've got to send out more cold emails. I don't have time for social because I need to go do more cold calls. I don't have time for social because I need to craft a different email message and A/B test and see how it's going to work. Or I don't have time for social because I need to go hire more sales reps that are come in knowing that 58% of them are going to be at a loss for me. Well, then you're just making poor business decisions. You're not putting your time in things that are going to be most efficient and most profitable for your business and for the rest of your team.
It's like, why the hell are you a CEO if you have to do all the damn work, right? Your job as a CEO is to be strategic, to cast a vision. You should be looking 3 years from now. And if you're a C-suite person and you're doing your job looking down the road 3 years and you are not pursuing strategic social selling, you should be fired.
Right. So I had a conversation with someone that said, hey, I will take some of our, some leads in our targeted accounts, some people, and I'll send messages to my CRO. I'll pre-write a connection request message and send a link to the person's LinkedIn profile. And I'll say, hey, will you connect with this person? Because I want CRO to, C-suite to C-suite connecting. So as this sales leader is working his way up. And I thought about it and I said, you know what, I mean, that's good. But what would be even better is if your CRO had a thriving social presence so that other C leader actually wanted to connect with him because he was a thought leader, not, oh, we're just going to send connection requests to each other so we could send messages directly to each other instead of email. Like, it's just, we're just missing the depth of value by trying to be fast.
Well, it's the mindset. So here's the big challenge that I see when I'm talking to financial advisors. They think that creating content is active, and it's not. It's passive. Mm-hmm. It's part of your passive social presence. Because if you think that you writing a piece of content is going to change someone who doesn't know you into an active pursuing prospect, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. Right. It may happen. Like, I've had inbound from one piece that one person saw, and I'm just always like, okay, thank you, God. I didn't plan on that, but I will take it. It's a bonus appetizer that I didn't order, right? Content for me is how I demonstrate social proof that I am who I am when I have a conversation.
That's really good. And I talk
Right?
about,
And that's why you have to write the content, not to change people's minds, but so that when they do check you out, and they will, they go there and they see a vibrant profile that's interesting, that's different. They can see that you're an actual human being that talks about more than your transitions, your automobile parts. Actually, you're somebody like cigars,
Yeah. Hey, I want to go back and I want to put this here.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to invite a celebrity to come in and read this for us so that we have a celebrity voiceover. You ready?
Yes.
The conversation about whether this all works or not is over. It's dead. It's in the trash. The question is now, is if your organization has the culture to accept the change, the mind to accept alternative perspectives, and the hunger to win.
So I got to ask Eric a question. Don't go anywhere. Eric, am I being too extreme? And yes, I had a lot of coffee.
I was going to say, it's decaf time, Jammy's bed.
No. We're going to energy drink after this, baby. Am I 100% wrong in trying to hold these C-suite folks accountable for doing their job of looking 1 to 3 years down the road and really grappling and working on this social thing?
Well, if anybody's going to have to be accountable, it's going to have to be the board, right? It's going to have to be the C-suite, right? So, but ultimately, I guess if you were to pressure wash away all of what any board members, you could say, yes, I'm here to leave a legacy. Great. Why? I'm here to look after the development of people. Okay. Why? If you kept asking those 5 whys, those 20 whys, you would get down to, actually, I'm here to generate shareholder value. That's what I'm here for, right? So, right. And I'm here to generate the most effective and efficient way that I can possibly do that. So yes, of course, when we put out our P&L, all of our eyes as board members go down to the bottom right and look at EBITDA. But the ones that are more sort of more astute and more acute in what they're looking at are looking at EBITDA as a percentage of turnover, right? Mm-hmm. The percentage of turnover. So the EBITDA number on its own exclusively is meaningless. EBITDA as a percentage of turnover is where it's at. And my job as a board member is to, yes, keep people happy. Yes, keep people tuned in, create a culture of growth and development and all of that. But I have to push that envelope. I have to push. That's what my job is. Now, if I always think back to when I was in health and safety. When I was in health and safety, if we ever went up against the government in the United Kingdom, the health and safety executive have got very stringent rules. And if you're found to be lacking, if maybe there was an incident or an explosion or someone was killed, unfortunately, they would measure you in the investigation about what they would call current best practice and available information, right? So is it unreasonable to expect that this management team would have heard of that piece of legislation or that safety kit? Actually, no, because the world knows about it, right? It's out there. So I sometimes think now that if there are companies where the pipeline is in the trash, the forecast is a disaster, pipeline non-existent and all of that, if we were to sit with that board and say, have you done a good enough job of being aware and implementing and at least investigating best practices today? Have you done a good enough job of that? Because that is your job, guys, bringing in best practices. And if you haven't done that, you're not doing it.
Yes. Yeah.
Mic drop. Mic drop.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I just noticed on Slack, Brandon sent me a link and I was like, really? That'd be so cool. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's just, the problem is so many people have this pattern of thinking about social being about, stupid cat videos and waste of time. And that's a real part of it. Like, I was talking to a client of mine yesterday and he's like, Mike, I feel like I'm wasting time on social. I said, okay, well, how are you spending it? And I said, do you have a minimum investment of time and then a maximum investment of time per day? I want you to have a hard window that you have to drive budget within. Like, I don't want an open-ended scroll mania kind of thing. Do you agree, Eric? It's like they've got this unconscious self-limiting perception of what social should be.
Yeah.
And all we're trying to do really is we're just trying to help them step back, take a look around, and understand that, ironically, all the transparency, all the measurability, all the predictability is stronger on social than
Oh my
anywhere.
goodness, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kevin, sorry, this isn't in any way trumping on this is your gig, but Kevin and I have just put out a video where Kevin Milne, who's a brilliant actor, by the way, pretends to be a 2019 salesperson, and he pretends to be a 2021 salesperson, and it's out just now. We just put it out. I have a feeling that so that's a little comedy video we put out where he pretends to be old school sales and new school sales. I have a feeling now that as we move forward, the future is going to be that board appointments, they're now going to be looking like I put myself back when I was 17 years old. I think when I was 17 years old, all I wanted to do was play with a basketball, wear cut off denim shorts, run about in the summertime with my bike and play in the woods and make spears and have great fun. And I probably had an eye on some girls that were in my class at school and all that kind of stuff. But my 16-year-old kid said to me, Austin, I said, are you thinking about what you want to do when you leave school? And he said, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to work for a company like Brewdog. I said, why? And he said, because James Watt, their CEO, is very good on social.
Boom.
Whoa, right. So
Right.
in isolation, that little sentence means nothing, but let's pick it apart, right? As a 16-year-old kid,
Right.
aligning his values with a CEO. I didn't know what a CEO was when I was 16, full disclosure. I had no idea. CEO, is that a Star Wars character? I've no idea.
No.
So aligning himself with the values of an organization that he'd like to work with before college and before university. Now that's just a tiny little microcosm, thing that's just happening.
Yeah.
Pull that thread through to people that are leaving college, are leaving university, that are making board appointments. I've got a feeling that executive boards are going to be looking to hire C-suite people who are going to be good on social, who are going to look good on social, speak well on social. And, it has to be in the list of, will this person create shareholder value? Will this person get us that EBITDA percentage contribution month on month? Will they help us get from X to Y financially? Will they be good on social? It has to be. It's got to come if it's not happening already.
I think that is coming, which is great. And there's some people out there. I know Sangram at Terminus has got a pretty big social presence. It affects Terminus, and there's other companies that are doing that. I think where I get confused is Eric. That's a great example. That is a great example that Austin is already thinking that. And when you think about social as being a channel of communication that connects your business to the people that you want to influence, the people you want to be connected with, the ability for social to do it so much better, faster, wider than any other tool was demonstrated in your example, your anecdote about Austin doing that.
Yeah.
Where I get stuck then is a business sees a value in one person doing it, but then they don't see the value in the rest of the team doing it because they don't equip or train them in order to do it. They equip and train one person and no one else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, why? Yeah, the whole idea. And Nick Rayburn and I were speaking to a client this afternoon, and Nick cut out of the presentation that we were doing to show. He said, "Look, I'm just one example." And he said, look, this is the visibility that I've had in my content over the last month. And we also do the same with our clients' visibility on content and engagement with content and how that's pulled through to conversations and proposals and purchase orders. If you can have that with one group of people within the organization, why wouldn't the smart money say, well, hold on, these 10 people have increased our revenue and our pipeline by X. What happens if we make an army?
Right.
What happens if we make an army? Do we not just dominate the world?
Why wouldn't everyone pull the rope?
Yeah. Right. Well, and I've got an example of that. Of a company, one person, an AE, crushed it, got promoted to be a manager because he crushed it. And they said, well, what did you do differently? Social. These are the things I do. And now there's a pause. They're even thinking about well, is there value in doing this for everybody? Like, it shouldn't even be a question.
It should be a race, right? Let's get everyone like him.
But
Exactly.
that's the problem, is because we're still using emotion to make decisions and not data. Like if we got like 9 seconds left, data.
Did you just summarize for us?
Yeah. Just one word, data.
Data.
I'll summarize, Mike. Coffee. Yes.
The elixir of the gods.
Hey, I'm sorry for jumping in this, but I really enjoyed your
No, we
conversation.
invited
I thought
you.
it was excellent. I thought it was lovely, and I thought you had a great tone about it. And this is your first go at this. It was awesome. You know, see, that's what happens. You invite us over here in the UK to your LinkedIn Live, and we come. We invite you guys, and you go, oh, it's 2:30 in the morning.
Is it daylight right now? Is it daylight?
It is.
I'll come on the Joe daylight in my window.
Yeah, that's because it's time for you to go have a pint, Eric. And
yes.
When the big breakfast burrito goes live, it's time for us to keep snoring, because it's 2:45 in the morning for us. But I will make it one of these times. I got to figure out.
Hey, you have, if any of you get up to do this, you are guaranteed that you're coming on,
Eric,
and be in your PJs.
I'm ready to.
I have bedhead.
What's that? Yeah.
I'm ready to schedule in September. Seriously.
Cool.
Eric, you know why I haven't done it yet?
You're soft.
Is it my age now? If I go a night without sleeping, it takes me 3 days to recover.
I'm there with you. It's like a hangover, right? It's horrible.
It's worse than a hangover.
The reality is, you're soft.
Are you guys done with your order of business? Is this now open season? Do you guys
take the live off?
Any of you guys into stand-up comedy? No, not really.
We're going to end the broadcast and then keep going, Eric. I want to hear this. Or did you want this public?
I can't answer that.
Why not? No, I'm about to dive off, but we're doing something really cool tonight, because the famous, well, he's famous here, the famous Canadian comedian Tom Stade is coming to Aberdeen tonight, and we are going out as a family, my son, my wife and I, and we're going out to a live event with human beings in a room to watch a comedian.
That's fantastic. And I'm sorry not to be so shocked. I mean, Georgia, where I live, we've been kind of open for about a year, but yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, this is like a moon landing for us. We're going into a room with people.
See,
that's so awesome.
Reading,
and for you.
The Scottish people are so compliant. They're so polite and so well mannered. They don't have any history of violence.
No, not at all.
Freedom.
Well, Eric, thanks for joining us. Mike, it's been a pleasure as always. And everybody, thanks for joining us.
Eric. Go ride.
And happy Friday, everybody.
All right.
Excellent, guys.
Appreciate you.